Alright folks, let's talk about getting your commercial driver's license in Illinois. For intrastate driving, you've got to be at least 18. That means you can drive commercially within Illinois. But if you want to cross state lines or haul passengers, you need to be 21. It's that simple. Now, I've met plenty of young folks eager to hit the road. They're chomping at the bit to start their trucking careers. But rules are rules. And these age limits are there for a reason. Safety first, always. So, if you're under 21, don't worry. You can still get started in-state. There's plenty to learn right here in Illinois. Remember, these age requirements apply to both the Commercial Driver's License, CDL, and the Commercial Learner's Permit, CLP. The CLP is like your learner's permit for regular driving, but for big rigs. Now that we've got that sorted, let's move on to the next step in getting your CDL. Before you can even think about getting a CDL or CLP, you need to have your ducks in a row. First up, you need a valid Illinois driver's license. Not just any license, mind you. It's got to be a CDL or non-CDL license issued right here in the land of Lincoln. No out-of-state licenses allowed for this dance. Why's that, you ask? Well, it's all about accountability and tracking. Illinois needs to know you're familiar with their roads and rules. Plus, it helps them keep tabs on your driving record. So if you're new to Illinois, you'll need to get that sorted first. Head down to your local DMV and get yourself an Illinois license before you start this CDL journey. Now let's talk about something that trips up a lot of folks. Proof of legal presence. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? But it's just a way of saying you need to prove you're legally allowed to be in the United States. This isn't about giving anyone a hard time. It's about following federal regulations. So what counts as proof of legal presence? Could be a birth certificate, a passport, or a permanent resident card. The key is it needs to be an original document or a certified copy. Make sure you've got your proof of legal presence ready to go. It'll save you a headache down the road. Now let's talk about something that's crucial but often overlooked: medical certification. When you're driving a big rig, you need to be in tip-top shape. It's not just about your safety, but the safety of everyone else on the road. That's why the feds require CDL drivers to self-certify their medical driving status. Sounds complicated, but it's really not. Here's the deal. You need to tell the state what type of driving you plan to do. Are you going to be crossing state lines? That's interstate commerce. Staying within Illinois? That's intrastate. Your answer determines what kind of medical certification you need. Now, if you're planning on non-accepted interstate driving, that's most long-haul truckers, you'll need a medical certificate. This isn't just a piece of paper. It's proof that a doctor has given you the all-clear to handle the physical demands of the job. The doc will be looking at specific things. They'll check your vision, hearing, blood pressure, and overall physical fitness. They want to make sure you can handle long hours behind the wheel, load and unload cargo, and deal with the stress of the job. It's not about being an Olympic athlete. It's about being fit enough to do the job safely. Get that medical certificate and keep it up to date. All right, let's talk money. Getting your CDL isn't free, folks. There are fees involved, and you need to be prepared for them. The exact amount can vary, so check with your local DMV for the most up-to-date info. But generally, you're looking at fees for the CLP, the CDL itself, and any endorsements you might need. It's an investment in your future, so don't let it scare you off. Now, once you've paid your fees, it's time to hit the books. Before you can get behind the wheel of a big rig, you need to prove you know your stuff. That means passing some written tests. First up is the general knowledge test. This covers the basics of commercial driving, things like traffic laws, safe driving techniques, and how to handle emergencies. It's not just about memorizing facts. It's about understanding how to be a safe, responsible driver. Depending on what kind of commercial vehicle you want to drive, you might need to take additional tests. Planning on driving a truck with a trailer? You'll need to pass the combination vehicle test. Want to drive a bus? There's a test for that too. Study hard, and don't be afraid to ask questions if something doesn't make sense. Section 5, Commercial Learner's Permit, CLP, process. So, you've passed your written tests. Congratulations. But don't start revving those engines just yet. The next step is getting your Commercial Learner's Permit, or CLP. Think of it as training wheels for your CDL. It's a temporary permit that allows you to practice driving a commercial vehicle, but only with a licensed CDL holder riding shotgun. Here's how it works. Once you've aced those written tests, the DMV will issue you a temporary CLP, This isn't the fancy plastic card you're used to, it's usually just a paper document, but don't lose it. This temporary permit is your golden ticket to start practicing. Now pay attention here because this is important. Make sure the address on your CLP is correct. I can't stress this enough. If you've moved recently, or if there's any chance your address isn't up to date, fix it now. The DMV needs to know where to send your permanent CLP. You need to hold that CLP for at least 14 days before you can take your skills test. Why? Well, it's to give you time to practice. Use this time wisely. Get behind the wheel with a licensed CDL holder and start learning the ropes. Your CLP is valid for 180 days. Use your time wisely, and you'll be ready for that skills test before you know it. Alright folks, now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. You've got your CLP, you've been practicing, and now it's time for the main event, the CDL skills test. This is where the rubber meets the road, literally. The skills test is divided into 3 parts: the vehicle inspection test, the basic control test, and the road test. Each one is designed to make sure you can handle a commercial vehicle safely and competently. First up is the vehicle inspection test. This is where you show that you know your rig inside and out. You'll need to do a thorough pre-trip inspection, pointing out and explaining various parts of the vehicle. Don't rush through this. Take your time and be thorough. Next comes the basic control test. This is where you'll show off your ability to maneuver the vehicle in tight spaces. Expect to do some straight line backing, offset backing, and maybe even a dreaded alley dock. You need to provide the vehicle for your skills test. The DMV doesn't provide a truck for you to use. You need to bring a vehicle that represents the class of CDL you're testing for. Last but not least is the road test. This is where you put it all together. Now let's talk about endorsements. Think of these as extra qualifications on your CDL. They allow you to drive specific types of vehicles or haul certain types of cargo. There are several endorsements available, but today we're going to focus on 2 that require a bit more paperwork. The H endorsement for hazardous materials, and the X endorsement, which combines hazmat and tank vehicles. If you're planning on hauling hazardous materials, listen up. You'll need to go through a Transportation Security Administration (TSA) security threat assessment. This isn't just a background check, it's a thorough vetting process to make sure you're not a security risk. After all, hazardous materials in the wrong hands could be dangerous. To start this process, you'll need to submit an application to the TSA. This includes fingerprinting and a background check. Don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. But it does take time, so plan ahead. The TSA clearance process can take a while, sometimes up to 60 days. So if you think you might want to haul hazmat in the future, start the process early. Hazmat tanker drivers are always in demand, and they often earn a premium for their specialized skills. Remember, in the world of commercial driving, the more skills and endorsements you have, the more valuable you are to employers. Alright, let's talk about something that doesn't apply to most folks, but it's important to know about non-domiciled CLP CDLs. This is for our friends from north and south of the border. If you're a citizen of Canada or Mexico, and you want to drive commercially in the US, pay attention. Illinois has some specific rules about this. Here's the deal. Illinois doesn't issue non-domiciled CLP CDLs to citizens of Canada or Mexico. Now you might be wondering, what in the world is a non-domiciled CLP CDL? Well, it's a special type of license for folks who legally work in the US but aren't permanent residents. But if you're from Canada or Mexico, you can't get one in Illinois. Why? It's all about reciprocity agreements and federal regulations. It's complicated stuff, but the bottom line is, if you're a Canadian or Mexican citizen, you'll need to look at other options. So what are those other options? Well, if you're a Canadian citizen, you're in luck. Thanks to agreements between the US and Canada, most Canadian commercial drivers can operate in the US with their Canadian license. You'll still need to meet US medical requirements and follow US traffic laws, but you don't need a separate US license. For Mexican citizens, it's a bit more complicated. You'll need to get a CDL in your home country and then apply for a special permit to operate in the US. Even if you can't get a non-domiciled CLP CDL in Illinois, that doesn't mean you can't drive commercially in the state. You just need to make sure you have the proper credentials from your home country and any necessary permits.